Ladies and gentlemen, there's a silent tragedy unfolding in the hearts and minds of millions across the world. A tragedy not of war, not of famine, not of disease, but of potential unfulfilled. Most people never realize the vast reservoir of power that lies dormant within them. They never tap into the force that can move mountains, change destinies, and rewrite legacies. Why? Because they've been told to wait, to settle, to conform. They've been trained to see limitations instead of opportunities. But I say to you today, you were not born to live a life of quiet desperation. You were born to think, to believe, to act, and to rise. Every great achievement, every fortune built, every destiny transformed began with a realization. And in this very moment, you are standing at the threshold of your own realization. So the question is not whether you have the power, but will you wake up to it? Most people never realize that their thoughts shape their reality. This is not merely a philosophical idea. It is a practical truth, a law of life as certain as gravity. What you consistently hold in your mind, you begin to attract into your life. Thoughts are not idle. They are powerful, invisible forces that build the framework of our actions, habits, and ultimately our destiny. If you look around you right now at your life, your work, your relationships, your achievements, you will see a mirror. That mirror reflects the dominant thoughts you've allowed to occupy your mind over the days, the months, the years. Whether consciously or unconsciously, you have been building your world thought, belief by belief, idea by idea. And yet most people never take control of this process. They never ask themselves, what have I been thinking? What seeds have I been planting in the garden of my mind? You see, the human mind is fertile soil. Whatever you plant, it will grow. Plant fear, doubt, and worry, and your life will yield anxiety, hesitation, and regret. But plant courage, faith, and purpose, and you will reap confidence, clarity, and achievement. The problem is that many people have been planting weeds without even knowing it. They let the news, their environment, the opinions of others, and the echo of past failures plant seeds in their minds. And over time, these seeds grow into a life they never wanted, but somehow accepted. The subconscious mind, your silent partner in creation, does not judge what you feed it. It takes every repeated thought, every emotion-charged idea, every vision you hold tightly to, and begins to act on it. It works around the clock to bring it into reality. If you constantly dwell on lack, it orchestrates conditions that reinforce poverty. If you focus on what you fear, it makes that fear more vivid, more real, and often more likely to occur. But if you consistently feed your mind with images of success, affirmations of strength, and beliefs of abundance, it will begin to align the forces within and around you to match that picture. The great mistake people make is believing that their circumstances determine their thoughts. In truth, it is their thoughts that shape their circumstances. A person can be born in poverty, face setbacks, be surrounded by negativity, and still rise if they learn to master their thinking. Likewise, a person born into privilege can lose it all if they allow their mind to be overtaken by fear, laziness, or doubt. Every invention, every innovation, every skyscraper, every fortune, every revolution began in the same place. A single thought. That thought nurtured and fed became an idea. That idea, backed by belief and action, became a reality. History remembers the results, but few pay attention to the invisible process that started it all, the thinking process. Most people, when they encounter failure, think that reality is against them. They don't realize they've been training their minds to expect failure. They rehearse worst-case scenarios, they dwell on what could go wrong, and they call it being realistic. But in truth, they are just placing bricks in the wall that stands between them and their highest potential. Realism, when not guarded by vision, becomes a prison. You have within you the capacity to direct your thoughts deliberately, to choose what you will dwell on, to decide what will occupy the most sacred space you own, your mind. And yet, most people give that power away. They let others rent space in their minds without paying rent. They let criticism, fear, old wounds, and limiting beliefs dictate what they think and how they feel. And then they wonder why nothing changes. There is no success without first mastering the inner dialogue. Every day you are speaking to yourself hundreds of times over. And the words you use, the tone you take, the pictures you paint in your imagination, those become the blueprint. You are either building a palace or digging a grave with your thoughts. When you wake up in the morning and immediately focus on what you lack, on what went wrong yesterday, or on what you're afraid might happen tomorrow, you are programming your day for failure. But when you begin with gratitude, with vision, with affirmation, you activate the higher faculties of your mind. You begin to think like the person you want to become, not the person you've been. The truth is, your outer world will never consistently exceed the quality of your inner world. And until you realize that every breakthrough begins in the mind, you will keep searching for change in places that can't deliver it. Most people never realize the power of a definiteness of purpose. They drift through life without a clear direction, without a central goal that anchors their actions and decisions. They react to circumstances rather than create them. They move from job to job, idea to idea, without ever deciding what they truly want and committing themselves fully to it. And as a result, their energy is scattered, their time is wasted, and their potential remains untapped. There is a difference between wishing for something and having a definite purpose. A wish is a passing desire, something that flickers in the mind and then fades away. A definite purpose, on the other hand, is a burning desire, a clear and unwavering target that you fix in your mind and pursue with persistence, discipline, and intensity. When you have a definite purpose, your mind becomes magnetized. You begin to attract people, resources, and opportunities that align with your aim. Life starts to organize itself around your commitment. But this only happens when you truly decide, what it is you want and refuse to be distracted by anything less. Most people never make that decision. They fear being wrong. They fear failure. They fear judgment. So they remain stuck in indecision, which is the thief of opportunity. They dabble in goals rather than devote themselves to them. They are like ships without rudders, drifting with the currents of life, hoping the wind will carry them somewhere worthwhile. But hope is not a strategy. Success does not come to the one who merely waits. It comes to the one who is definite. The most powerful individuals in history were not the ones with the most talent, the most education, or the most luck. They were the ones who knew exactly what they wanted and pursued it with relentless focus. They did not allow themselves to be swayed by the opinions of others. They did not waste time on distractions. They were guided by a single dominating aim that served as the foundation of their every decision. When obstacles appeared, they did not quit. They adjusted. They learned. They adapted. But the purpose remained fixed. Definiteness of purpose is the starting point of all achievement. Without it, action lacks direction. Effort becomes diluted. Energy is spent without return. But with it, even ordinary individuals can accomplish extraordinary things. It brings clarity to your thoughts and decisiveness to your actions. It gives meaning to your work and fire to your soul. It is the key that unlocks discipline, drive, and determination. When you have a definite purpose, you stop asking, should I? And start asking, how will I? Yeah, but your internal dialogue changes from hesitation to intention. You become solution-focused rather than problem-obsessed. The challenges you face no longer discourage you because you see them as necessary steps on the path to your goal. Failure loses its sting because your purpose is bigger than your fear. Most people, however, spend more time planning a vacation than they do planning their lives. They chase temporary pleasures rather than pursue long-term fulfillment. They let circumstances dictate their dreams instead of letting their dreams reshape their circumstances. They allow the noise of the world to drown out the whisper of their calling. They want results without clarity, success without sacrifice, achievement without alignment. But life does not respond to vague intentions. It responds to precision. The universe does not conspire for the person who is uncertain. It conspires for the one who is clear, focused, and determined. That is the power of a definite purpose. It organizes your thoughts, aligns your emotions, and disciplines your behavior. It gives you a reason to rise early, to push harder, to endure longer. It gives your life structure and your spirit fuel. You can always tell when someone has found their definite purpose. There's a light in their eyes, a certainty in their steps. They are not waiting for permission or approval. They are not easily discouraged. They are willing to make sacrifices, to take risks, to walk alone if necessary. Their purpose becomes their compass. It keeps them grounded when times are hard and humble when times are good. They do not rely on motivation. They operate from commitment. They are not confused by the opinions of the crowd. They are guided by the conviction of their vision. Most people never realize that choosing a purpose and choosing it with all their heart is the turning point of transformation. It is the point at which life begins to change. The moment they stop drifting and start directing, the moment they stop reacting and start creating. It is not about having the perfect plan. It is about having a clear reason, a strong why, a vision that pulls you forward even when everything else tries to hold you back. Most people never realize that fear is the greatest enemy of success. It disguises itself in many forms: doubt, hesitation, procrastination, overthinking, the need for approval, the fear of rejection, and the fear of failure. Fear wears many masks, but its goal is always the same: to keep you where you are, to stop you from growing, to keep your greatness locked away inside of you. And unless you recognize it and confront it, it will silently sabotage your every move. Fear is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers. It tells you to wait. It tells you you're not ready. It tells you that people will laugh at you, that you might lose, that it's too risky, it's too late, you're too young, you're too old. It convinces you that playing small is the safer route, that it's better to stay in your comfort zone than to step into the unknown. But what most people don't understand is that the comfort zone is not a sanctuary, it's a cage. And fear is the guard that keeps you locked inside. The greatest minds, the most successful entrepreneurs, the boldest leaders, all of them felt fear. But the difference is they acted anyway. They did not allow fear to dictate their decisions. They used it as fuel rather than allowing it to become a fortress. The presence of fear is not the problem. The problem is surrendering to it, because when you surrender to fear, you surrender your dreams. You surrender your potential. You give up your power. Most people think failure is the enemy, but failure is simply feedback. It's information. It's a necessary step towards success. No. What keeps people from moving forward is not the failure itself, but the fear of what the failure might mean. Fear turns a temporary setback into a permanent state of paralysis. It exaggerates risk. It imagines the worst case scenario and convinces you that it's the only outcome possible. But rarely is that true. More often than not, fear is a liar. Fear stops people from starting. It stops them from finishing. It stops them from speaking up, from showing up, from being seen. It causes hesitation where there should be action, confusion where there should be clarity. It kills creativity. It dulls intuition. It clouds judgment. And yet it is entirely mental. It lives in the mind. It grows in the dark, unchallenged corners of your thinking. It thrives on silence, secrecy, and avoidance. Most people never stop to question the root of their fear. They never ask, what am I really afraid of? They allow it to sit in the background of their lives, running the show. It becomes a habit, a pattern. They begin to live in avoidance mode, constantly navigating around fear rather than through it. They miss opportunities, delay decisions, and shrink their goals to match their fears. And the longer they do this, the more fear becomes their default response to life. But no one was born with fear. Fear is learned. And if it can be learned, it can be unlearned. It can be unlearned. The most powerful way to weaken fear is to take action in spite of it. Action is the antidote. The moment you move, the moment you do the thing that scares you, the illusion begins to fade. You realize that fear was just smoke and mirrors. You realize that your mind had been playing tricks on you. And with every courageous step, you reclaim power. There are people with less talent, less intelligence, fewer resources, and more disadvantages than you who are living their dreams because they did not let fear decide their fate. They stepped forward while others stepped back. They leaned in while others walked away. They made the call, started the business, wrote the book, launched the project, not because they were fearless, but because they were determined. They were willing to feel the fear and move anyway. Most people wait for the fear to go away before they act. But that day rarely comes. Confidence does not come before action. It comes as a result of action. Clarity does not come from overthinking. It comes from doing. The people who win in life are not the ones who never feel afraid. They are the ones who have learned to manage their fear, to rise above it, to not let it make decisions on their behalf. They have developed a habit of courage, a discipline of boldness. They understand that the cost of letting fear lead is far greater than the discomfort of pushing through it. Most people never realize that persistence breaks down resistance. They believe that talent alone is enough. That opportunity will knock if it's meant to. That luck will find them if they wait long enough. But life doesn't reward potential. It rewards persistence. It rewards the person who keeps showing up, keeps grinding, keeps pushing. long after the excitement is worn off and the applause has faded. Persistence is the fire that refuses to die, the force that keeps going even when the odds are against it. It is the quiet power behind every story of success, every breakthrough, every victory that looked impossible. Resistance is guaranteed. The world will test your resolve. Life will throw obstacles in your path. People will doubt you, circumstances will change, and failures will try to wear you down. But it is persistence that decides whether you stop or whether you rise. Most people stop too soon. They give up just before the momentum was about to shift. They retreat when things get uncomfortable, when results don't come fast enough, when progress feels slow and uncertain. But the truth is, resistance is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you're growing. It's a necessary part of the journey. Just as muscles grow through tension, strength is built through struggle. And those who persist, who endure the resistance and press forward regardless, are the ones who reach the summit. Every great achievement in history is a monument to persistence. Behind every invention, every business empire, every iconic figure is a story of someone who refused to quit. Mind who refused to quit. Young to setbacks and disappointments, but kept moving. They knocked on doors until one opened. They heard a no after a no, but never let it define them. They were not the fastest, not the smartest, not the most gifted, but they were the most determined. They were relentless. Persistence is not glamorous. It doesn't always look heroic. Often, it looks like waking up early when you're tired, showing up to work when you're discouraged, putting in effort when no one is watching, believing when no one else does. It is built in the ordinary moments and the choice to try again and again and again. It's not always about intensity. It's about consistency. It's the person who keeps planting seeds even when they haven't seen a harvest yet. Most people underestimate how long it takes to succeed. They expect results overnight. They expect the path to be smooth. But anything worth building takes time. And during that time, resistance will show up in the form of delays, doubts, distractions, and difficulties. This is where most people falter. They lose heart. They change course. So they start something new instead of finishing what they began. But those who persist, who learn to be patient with the process and faithful in the work, find that the wall eventually cracks. The resistance gives way. The breakthrough happens. Persistence builds character. It builds resilience. It trains you to be tough, to be disciplined, to be focused. It strips away excuses and demands growth. It forces you to confront your limitations and push past them. And the longer you persist, the more confidence you gain. You start to trust yourself. You realize that you can handle more than you thought, that obstacles are not dead ends. They are tests. And if you keep pushing, you will pass them. Success is not a straight line. It is a winding road filled with ups and downs, detours and delays, and delays. And the only way to travel that road is with persistence, not occasional effort, not temporary motivation, but daily commitment. The willingness to do the work whether you feel like it or not. The decision to keep your eyes on the goal even when progress isn't visible. That is the difference maker. Resistance is not your enemy. It is a signal. It's the signpost that tells you you're moving towards something meaningful. The greater the resistance, the greater the reward on the other side. Most people run from resistance, but the ones who understand the game lean into it. They embrace the discomfort, knowing that persistence will eventually wear it down. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't need to see the entire path. You just need to keep taking the next step. Keep showing up. Keep building. Keep believing. Persistence is not about perfection. It's about endurance. It's about outlasting the obstacles and refusing to let go of the vision. Most people never realize that environment shapes destiny. They believe that they can rise above any condition. Their willpower alone is enough to overcome their surroundings, that they can walk through fire and not get burned. But the truth is, no matter how strong you are, the environment you place yourself in will eventually influence the way you think, the way you speak, and the way you live. You are not just a product of your decisions. You are a product of your surroundings. The people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, the energy that surrounds you, it all gets into your system. It seeps into your mind, shapes your standards, and affects your choices. If you surround yourself with mediocrity, you begin to tolerate it. If you are constantly around negativity, you begin to echo it. If your environment lacks vision, ambition, and accountability, it becomes increasingly difficult to maintain yours. Most people don't protect their environment because they underestimate its power. They think they can simply resist the pull, but environment doesn't ask for your permission. It just works silently and consistently, molding you day by day. Look at the most successful individuals in any field, and you'll find they are intentional about their environment. They are deliberate with their relationships. They are selective with their influences. They do not allow everyone access to their space. They understand that proximity is power. Who you are around is a preview of who you are becoming. If you want to grow, you have to place yourself in an environment where growth is the norm, where excellence is expected, where ambition is spoken like a native language, where complaining is not allowed, and solutions are the only currency that matter. Most people, however, stay stuck because they remain in toxic environments. They stay around people who drain them, discourage them, or distract them. They stay loyal to relationships that no longer align with who they're becoming. They attend gatherings that feed their ego but starve their purpose. They expose themselves daily to media, noise, and content that numbs the mind and weakens the spirit. They underestimate how much energy they lose by simply being in the wrong room, in the wrong atmosphere, around the wrong conversations. And over time, this misalignment builds frustration, fatigue, and confusion. They begin to question their vision, not because it was wrong, but because they were surrounded by the wrong voices. Environment also includes the physical space you inhabit. Cluttered spaces create cluttered minds. Chaotic surroundings contribute to mental noise. Order, design, and structure are not just luxuries, they are tools for focus. Most people never take the time to organize their space, to eliminate what no longer serves them, to create a setting that aligns with their aspirations. They accept their environment as it is instead of designing it intentionally. Changing your environment doesn't always mean walking away from everything you know, but it often means making tough decisions. It means evaluating your circle. It means distancing yourself from distractions. It means unfollowing what pulls you down and leaning into what pulls you forward. It means asking hard questions like, does this relationship help me grow? Or is this space feeding my vision or my comfort? It means becoming more loyal to your future than your past. People often say they want change, but they refuse to change their environment. They want to be healthy while keeping junk food in the kitchen. They want to be focused while being surrounded by chaos. They want to be successful while spending their time with people who have no ambition. But transformation begins with location, where you place yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. You cannot build a palace while living in a swamp. You cannot soar with eagles while nesting with pigeons. Your environment either pushes you forward or pulls you back. It either energizes your dreams or exhausts your drive. It either reflects your past or aligns with your future. And the moment you begin to take control of your environment, you begin to take control of your destiny. The energy around you becomes the fuel within you. The voices you hear daily become the thoughts you think. The expectations that surround you become the standards you live by. Most people never realize that until it's too late. They look up years later and wonder why nothing changed, not knowing their environment made that choice for them. Most people never realize that time is their most valuable asset. They treat it casually as though it's infinite, as though there will always be more. They waste hours, days, even years without intention, without purpose, without urgency. They allow distractions to dominate their schedule and let low value activities steal their focus. They plan for vacations more carefully than they plan for life. But time is not something you can earn back. Once it's gone forever. There is no refund on wasted time. There is no rewind button for missed opportunities. Every second that passes is a second you'll never see again. And yet, most people live like they have all the time in the world. They procrastinate on their goals. They delay hard conversations. They postpone decisions that could change their lives. They assume tomorrow will come, but tomorrow's not promised. Time is the great equalizer. Everyone gets the same 24 hours a day, but how you use those hours determines the quality of your life. The successful do not have more time than anyone else. They simply treat time differently. They guard it, they prioritize it, they invest it, they understand the cost of saying yes to the wrong things. They understand that every minute they give to something unimportant is a minute stolen from something that truly matters. They are intentional with their time because they know it's the one resource they can never replenish. They operate with urgency because they respect what's at stake. Most people live in distraction. They are busy, but not productive. Their schedules are full, but their lives are empty. They confuse motion with progress. They are constantly reacting, checking messages, responding to notifications, getting pulled into things that don't align with their vision. Their day is dictated by what's urgent, not by what's important. They're so caught up in the noise that they never take a moment to ask, is this the best use of my time? Focus is the new currency of success. In a world designed to steal your attention, protecting your focus is the ultimate discipline. Most people are not failing because they lack talent. They're failing because they lack time management. They are losing to distractions disguised as entertainment, to obligations they never questioned that drain them instead of feed them. And the tragedy is they don't even realize it. They keep saying they don't have time, but the truth is they're giving it away without thought. Time is also the true measure of what you value. You'd say you want success, but how much time are you giving to your craft? You can say your family matters, but how much time are you really spending with them? You can say you want to grow, but how many hours are you devoting to learning, reflecting, or developing yourself? Look at your calendar, and it will reveal what you truly care about. Talk is cheap. Time is truth. Most people don't schedule their priorities. They prioritize what's on their schedule. They operate by default, not by design. They allow others to dictate their time, to interrupt their flow, to pull them in directions that don't serve their purpose. But time, when used with precision, becomes a weapon. It becomes a tool of creation. It becomes the foundation of momentum. Every successful life is built on a foundation of intentional hours, repeated over weeks, months, and years. You cannot master your life until you master your minutes. You cannot create a future you love while mismanaging the present you're living. Time is not just about productivity. It's about presence. It's about being fully engaged in what matters most. It's about showing up for your purpose, for your people, for your passion, and refusing to let anything steal that moment from you. Because once it's gone, it's gone. Those who achieve greatness often have a sense of urgency that others lack. They live with an awareness that time is precious. They don't put off what matters. They don't assume they have endless chances. They work while others wait. They move while others hesitate. They say no to what doesn't serve their vision so they can say yes to what does. They design their days. They structure their time. They make every hour count. Time is more than a clock ticking. It's life passing. Every sunrise is a reminder that you've been given another chance, not a guarantee of more. Every sunset is a reminder that the day is done, and you'll never get it back. Most people never realize this until it's too late. They look back and wonder where the time went, how it slipped through their fingers, how they arrived at a life they didn't intentionally create.